Hello, sir. Are you a Muslim, sir? So, can I please have a conversation with you? Sure. Sure. So, in relation to the Quran, you might have heard the idea that the Quran is well preserved. Have you heard that?
Yeah.
And that is given as one of the important reasons why anyone should be a Muslim. But when I research this area, I find a serious problem with that argument. And that problem is, to me, based on details, the Islam based on the Quran is the worst corrupted religion.
Okay.
And I can tell you why.
Okay, go on.
For example, when you think, are you a Sunni Muslim or Shia?
See, me, I follow the Sunnah of Prophet Muhammad.
Yeah, sure. So, if you're a Sunni Muslim, you'd like to think, Muhammad, Mecca, Medina, Hijrah, Jibril, Hira, all those details. But the problem is, all evidence we have, including in the Quran, all early evidence contradict the storyline. Contradict.
Okay.
Rendering the entire storyline unviable.
Okay, you got evidence for that, boss?
Absolutely. So, let's go through some evidence.
No problem.
Maybe I'll remove my gloves, which my wife wanted me to wear in her love. But so let's go through some evidence. Maybe not this first. Maybe the other one first. Let's go through some. Can you please help me? Can you please hold that? Sorry. So the first kind of evidence. Or maybe it is actually in that. Sorry. So the first kind of evidence are coins I'd like to show. So for instance, you see the coins here.
Okay.
These are some of the first Islamic coins. Some of the first Islamic coins. But you see the problem there?
It's my first time seeing this.
Yeah, first time saying the problem is these cannot be Islamic according to the definition of Islam.
Islamic coins.
These are coins which are supposed to be Islamic.
What makes the coin Islamic?
Coins issued by caliphs.
Okay.
Yeah. So you understand, after Muhammad,
Okay.
the
Yeah,
caliphs
yeah.
and so on, who are supposed to have followed Islam properly, the rightly guided caliphs and so on. And then the Umayyad Caliphate and so on. The problem is, when you strictly follow Islam properly, you won't have coins such as these. Can you see the kings, the caliphs?
Yeah.
You're not supposed to have these things. You're not supposed to have these things. This is like
Why is that?
because can you have the picture of any Islamic leader today in a mosque?
I haven't seen any.
You know why? Because they are considered to be idols.
Okay.
You're not supposed to depict.
Okay.
So you're not supposed to
See, the thing is this, with idol worshipping, we aren't worshipping the coins or anything like that.
No, it's
It
not
might
just.
be a picture of it, but it's not worshipping. It isn't idol worshipping.
When Islamic state captured, when Islamic state established their state,
Yeah, the caliphate.
the caliphate,
Yeah.
one of the things they were doing, they were going around destroying archaeological artifacts.
Okay.
Remember? They were going around, demolishing,
Well, I don't remember.
museums, statues and so on. No one was worshipping them. They were just in museums, but they still went ahead to demolish them.
Okay.
And the reason for that is not that they didn't anyone to worship them, because that wasn't happening anyway, but that they didn't even like them to exist. Idols in any depiction of any sort isn't even supposed to exist in Islam, in the strictest version of Sunni Islam. They're not even supposed to exist. And so this is not even supposed to exist in the strictest version of Sunni Islam. This is not supposed to exist, let alone be published by the Caliph himself. But the problem is, these are early Islamic coins. Or when I say Islamic, these are coins from the early Islamic times, published by caliphs under their authority. So there is a problem. something has gone wrong.
What's going on?
Clearly, they weren't caliphs in the way today's people make them out to be. Clearly, they weren't implementing Islam in the way you think Islam must be implemented. Clearly. You see what I'm saying? So, in other words, these coins which are supposed to be Islamic aren't really Islamic. In other words, Islam, whatever religion they followed in that time, couldn't have been the religion that Sunni Islam is today. That's one evidence. You can go through all of the coins from the early.
So if you go by all through the chains of narrations and all stuff like this, how would you what's the word? How do you say it?
How do you
reject it? How would you reject it? All the chains of narrations.
Sure. You know how I reject them? If you go through the details of these chains of narrations, you would find that there is no evidence for any of them on a timely manner. Let me put it this way, very simply. Yeah, for a moment, let's pretend there was a guy who lived maybe 500 years ago. No one knew about him so far. Let's say I'm not giving a similar example. 500 years ago, there was a guy who living maybe in London somewhere. No one cared about him at all, and so on. But today, I can come here and say, you know what? I want to start a religion based on him. And I can say, oh, you know what? He said a few things. We know exactly what he said because through a chain, we have information as to what he said. And today I write a book saying, oh, he said, don't drink alcohol or go do these things in these places and so on. And this is my new religion. And if anyone questions, well, how do you know he said that? Well, because A told B, B told C, C told D. And look, I have evidence of all of that because I've written that down today in a book. You see what I'm saying? In other words, you can make things up retrospectively, which is what has happened in Islam.
Okay.
None of these sources in relation to hadiths are early. None of them.
So are you trying to say that none of these hadiths were in the time of the Prophet Muhammad?
None of them were. They were all made. I mean, if you look at
all the hadiths were after the time of the Prophet Muhammad. Is that what you're saying? They were all made.
If you look at the
they were all fabricated. Is that what you're trying to say?
Absolutely. If you look at the canonical sources,
Okay.
even according to Islamic tradition, let's say Sahih al-Bukhari, Sahih Muslim, Al-Tirmidhi, multiple. So if you take Sunni Islam, it's one set. If you take Shia Islam, it's some other set.
But we still follow one book.
Which book?
With the Quran, we still follow one book. Shia, Sunni, we still follow the Quran.
Yeah. So here's my problem. Have you read the Quran yourself?
Not in detail, as I should have.
But
Little bits, yeah.
A little bit, yeah. But you know what the problem is? You can go. I'm researching right now. I'm preparing to write a book on how Islam began based on the Quran. And what I find is phenomenal. None of what you consider to be Islamic history you can see here. What you find here completely contradicts the basic narration, the core of how the storyline you've given. For example, you were always told that Muhammad destroyed idols in Mecca. Yeah, that's yeah. But if you go through all of this, do you find any shred of evidence of idolatry in Mecca? None at all. You can go through. Do you ever remember? Have you ever read any verse in the Quran which gives any level of detail? Maybe two verses, three verses.
I couldn't tell you off the top of my head.
It doesn't exist. I can tell you, and I can even give more information if you want. It simply doesn't exist. Maybe another example. If you can go through the entire Quran, does it give you any detail of people in Mecca with whom Muhammad had a conflict?
Do I say that again? What was your question?
If you can go through the entire Quran and try and find out if there is any evidence of conflict that Muhammad ran into with people in Mecca, Arabs in Mecca.
Okay.
Do you know if any such detail exists?
Couldn't tell you.
Doesn't exist. You could go through the entire Quran. Is there any detail of Muhammad and his entourage escaping Mecca, running to Medina, emigrating to Medina? You would find none.
Are you talking about the Battle of Uhud?
No, I'm talking about the Hijrah. Okay. Hijrah, which is the beginning of the Islamic calendar. These are significant events, yet they don't even exist in the Quran. Not that the Quran doesn't talk about historical details. The Quran is...
For us, we don't look at the Quran as a biography of the life of the Prophet Muhammad sallallahu alaihi wasallam. We don't look at it as a biography of his life. We look at the Quran as a way of life.
I know, but that in itself...
Whereas the Bible is written by people. That's why it's all about Jesus, because it's mainly a biography about Jesus, because it's other people writing about the person. You get me?
Yeah. You know what the problem is? When you were told, don't look for these details in the Quran, please bear in mind that could be part of the brainwashing. That could be part of the indoctrination. You see what I'm saying? I mean, if you go back to the example I was trying to give earlier, don't ask about details of that gentleman who lived 500 years ago. Don't ask for that. Just take this as the way of life. How would that sound to you? You would say, no, I need
In Islam, it tells us to ask questions. It tells us to educate.
Sure, and that is where I'm asking. This book, the Quran, has plenty of references to historical details. Plenty. It's not as if it doesn't have. It has plenty of references. It talks about conflicts here, conflicts there, all sorts of different things. It even gives war zone instructions.
Miracles, it gives you a lot of stuff.
What miracles does it give?
It talks about, how the Atlantic and the Pacific Ocean does not meet once to touch. For me, how did a man 1400 years ago in the desert know anything about this?
Where does it say about Atlantic?
Atlantic and the Pacific mix.
Where does it talk about that?
If you want me to find, that's fine. I'll find
Please.
No problem, brother. No problem.
I can tell you the number of places you find. But yeah, please try and I can tell you.
No problem, brother. Give me 2 seconds,
Yeah, sure. How are you doing? Okay? Good to see you.
Let's see.
Sure.
And he is who hath given independence to the two seas, though they meet, one palatable, sweet, and the other saltish, bitter, and hath set a bar and forbidding ban between them.
Sure. So let's.
If you were to go into the Pacific and where it meets, you can physically see a barrier sitting in between them.
Can we?
Yeah, no
please?
problem, no problem.
So let's go through this is demonstrative of the indoctrination. I'll show you some details, please. This is demonstrative of the indoctrination that happens even in a nation like ours, when you're in the West and so on.
Okay, but for me personally, how could a man 1400 years ago, illiterate, know anything like this?
I'll tell you. Let's go through this.
Scientific miracles.
Let's go through this, please.
No problem.
Let's go through this, please. So look at word by word, yeah? He it is who had given independence to the two seas. So it's talking about two seas, yeah? One palate.
Pacific.
No, wait. It doesn't say, it doesn't give any other names. Let's read. Go through that. One second.
Go on.
One palatable sweet. Are you aware of any ocean which has sweet water?
There is one salty water. This is where it talks about the densities. One water is denser than the others.
No. Wow. It uses an explicit word there. Sweet. You know what sweet is. We know what sweet is. It's not salt.
Okay, it's the opposite of salty, isn't it?
Exactly.
It's the opposite of salty.
Are you aware of any...
You've got one ocean where the salt concentration is higher than the other, and the other one isn't. So that's why...
So let me ask you one thing. Yeah. If you take two jugs of water, two separate jugs of water, in one, let's say full jug of water, both, yeah? In one, add 5 teaspoons of salt, In another, add 10 teaspoons of salt. And taste both. Mix properly, taste both. Would any one of those two be sweet?
No,
Why not?
because they both got salt in it.
Exactly, exactly. So bear that in mind and answer my question now. Are you aware of any sea or an ocean in the entire world which has sweet water? But the Quran there is talking about sweet water. Please read. Palatable, sweet. This sea does not exist. How can someone talk about a sea which doesn't even, it's not, it's neither.
If you go to it in the world, you can physically see with your eyes that the barriers don't mix.
No. One
You
second.
can do.
Before we go.
You know, the eyes don't lie.
One second, please. Before we get, I'm going to get there, but before we get to that detail, I am reading one word at a time. The first idea I come across in that verse is two seas. The very next idea is one of them is sweet. And I'm asking a simple question. Is there any sea in the world with sweet water?
I couldn't tell you sweet water. No.
Is Atlantic Ocean sweet water?
There is no ocean full of pure sugar in it to make it sweet.
There is no ocean. There is no ocean without salt water. None.
So no, what I'm trying to ask you is.
So Atlantic Ocean.
How could you explain?
We'll come to that later. One step at a time.
How could you explain that in the Quran from someone 1400 years ago in the desert? How could you explain that? Can you tell me?
You're not listening to me right now. You're not listening to me. You know how I'll explain? I am saying whoever wrote that doesn't even know. No, please listen. Don't conclude first. Go through the details first, reason first, and then conclude. If you conclude first and then read, that is the definition of indoctrination. Please don't do that. Read first, understand, evaluate, and then conclude. My point is simply that verse is talking about, at the right at the start, is talking about a sweet water sea, and I am saying whoever wrote this is clueless because he doesn't even know that there is no sweet water sea. So who is that? Well, whoever. He is clearly not someone who knows even basic facts. That he is talking about a sweet water sea.
It's metaphorical. It means you can drink it, basically.
No. Hey, excuse me. No. Are you saying the Quran doesn't know? Are you saying Allah can't?
Doesn't say
No. One second. No, 1 second. Are you saying Allah doesn't know how to communicate?
Do you think it's metaphorical?
What's metaphor?
because the meaning in Islam is pure.
No. No. Please don't make up the Quran.
By palatable,
and then
palatable it means it is drinkable.
No. Read the entire verse properly.
One palatable and then the other salty.
Whoa. Don't skip. Read every word properly.
I have.
Read every word. Palatable, sweet.
What does palatable mean?
Palatable, and then what? What's it? It clarifies. What's the next word? That clarifies. What is palatable about it? It clarifies.
And the other saltish bit.
Yeah. So are you aware? So explain the metaphor here. Please give me the exact chapter. I can take you word by word.
Surah Al-Furqan.
Okay, you can read the Arabic if you want. Don't hide behind Arabic. Don't hide behind Arabic. We can read Arabic if you want. Surah
Al-Furqan 25:53.
53. Yeah. So you see. So that's the Arabic. You can read the Arabic if you want. He is the one who merges the two seas. One is fresh and palatable. Fresh. The idea of the fresh. What we call fresh water is sweet water. Fresh. Fresh. No. Yeah. Drinkable. Not that you are putting up with salt, but it is actually sweet. Fresh. Sweet. Yeah, drinkable.
Could be a lake,
What?
right? Or a river, basically.
Yeah. So it's not Atlantic Ocean.
No.
It's not Pacific Ocean. So you see the problem? It's not. He himself is telling you it's not Atlantic Ocean. It's not Pacific Ocean. So whoever told you it's Atlantic Ocean and Pacific Ocean has indoctrinated you. Whatever this is has to be a freshwater source.
You have to look at the scientific point that the waters are not.
No.
We're trying to say, how did an illiterate man know these scientific stuff?
It is not scientific before you deal with the details. We now established your idea that it is scientific and it is Pacific and Atlantic Ocean is wrong. Yeah? So whoever told you this is scientific based on those two oceans, wrong. Now coming to you. Now coming to you, my dear friend. No scientist tells this ridiculous stuff. I'll tell you one by one, one word at a time. We'll go through the number of problems here. Now you're telling me it's a freshwater source. Which lake? Any candidate?
I think it's to do something around the Amazon or South America. Somewhere.
You see, he doesn't even know. Are you Arabic?
I am.
You see, Arabic gentleman, he doesn't even know. And he now says, without even knowing, he says it is scientific. Now, can I tell you something, sir? No one can say it is scientific before knowing the facts. With me? So, at best, you can only say, let me check. You can't say it is scientific. Like, giving the conclusion first before evaluation is the very evidence of indoctrination. Please don't. You are young people.
What do you mean it's scientific? Of course
You,
it's
you, what do you, I didn't say it. You said it. What do you mean by
It's
scientific?
in the salt of the waters. That's why they don't mix. It's the
Sorry, what's that?
It's the densities of the salt in the water. That's why they don't mix.
No, my friend. I'm coming to the mixing part. By the way, it's one of the primitive anti-scientific statement anyone could make. I'll come to that in a bit. The mixing part. Okay, it's a well-established chemical principle that when two solutions with different salt content meet, they will mix. Now, to say that they won't is ridiculous. Go and ask your chemistry teacher. They'll laugh. They'll really laugh. They'll really, really laugh. The only way you can hold on to that idea is through indoctrination, not through science. But before that, let me go through which freshwater source. Take any freshwater source you have in mind. Take any candidate, yeah? You have a number of rivers which go and meet the sea. So you can take any one of them if you want. The problem is, even with them, the problem is, the moment the river meets the sea, there is mixing of salt already. And where is this picture from?
Does it matter?
Yeah, of course it does matter. Are you aware?
That's the Atlantic and Pacific.
Wow. Who told you this?
Akhi, that's the Atlantic and the Pacific.
Where? Who told you this? Who gives this source?
Wait.
Is this a scientific source?
Akhi, you take a boat out into the middle of the Atlantic and the Pacific, you can see it with your own eyes. You see it with your own eyes.
Let me give you an example, okay? 10 years ago or so,
Okay.
from what I remember, I think it was BP, I can't remember if it was Shell or BP, there was oil spillage in an ocean.
Just look at it.
Now, who gives you this picture?
I can find it on Google.
Please, I need authentic picture. I don't need some made-up picture. Islam is spread based on indoctrination all over the time. Like, you know, who told you Atlantic and Pacific Ocean?
What do you mean? But you can search it up.
Yeah. So some article clearly tells him somewhere it's Atlantic and Pacific Ocean. So clearly, Islamic indoctrination is all over the place. Clearly. Please don't laugh. This is serious stuff. This is absolutely ridiculously serious stuff, and you're laughing. Your lives are at stake. Please, my dear friend, please, nothing to do with oceans. Whoever wrote that is anti-scientific. Couldn't even pass primary schooling if he goes through primary schooling here. That's how ridiculously anti-scientific that claim is. Yet Islam goes around claiming this is one of the scientific miracles in the Quran. You see what I'm saying? This is the level to which people are indoctrinated. So now you, sir, please explain to me. Please choose any sweet water source you have in mind. Anything. Because of course we have a number of rivers, mixing with a sea. The problem with that is, to start, the problem is, the verse is very clear. It is naming both of these sources as seas. So it's talking about two different sources. Both are of the same category. So it's not river and a sea, river and an ocean. It's not an ocean, and it can either be ocean and an ocean, or a sweet water source and a sweet water source. Yeah? Unless, so the problem is, find two sources which are like in terms of categories, similar to each other. Find one of them to be fresh water, another to be salt water, and tell me where they meet, where the salt content isn't shared. Please choose any candidate. I'm now talking about actually choosing real life example to illustrate, and then I'll talk about the chemical principle. To claim that two different sources of, two different water sources with different salinity, not exchanging salt, is ridiculously anti-scientific. Like I said to you, my friend, ridiculously anti-scientific. You can ask your chemistry teacher, refer to your chemistry textbooks. It is ridiculously anti-scientific. If you say that in a chemistry exam here in the UK, you will fail. You will not get a mark for that. You see what I'm saying? The only way that kind of statement, that kind of claim could survive is through indoctrination. And that is why one of my claims about Quran is going to be, this is a book of indoctrination.